Hello everyone, so in this video I am going to discuss about the pemphigus groups. It is a immunobullous disease. So it is a immunobullous disease. So here what do we mean by the immunobullous? So here the bullous means there is fluid filled lesion is there, and immuno means that there is autoimmune, means antibody complex will be there, means there is any antibody reaction is going on. That's why it is immuno, and for bullous it is a fluid filled lesion. So that's why it is a immunobullous disease. So pemphigus is a immunobullous disease, means and bullous means there is fluid filled lesion. So it is a immunobullous disease. So in the immunobullous disease is a autoimmune disease. So in that autoimmune disease we have to divide it on the basis of intraepidermal and subepidermal. So here it is a intraepidermal, because we already learned about it is divided into two types, that is intraepidermal and the other one that is subepidermal. So in the intraepidermal, intra means in between the epidermis, so in between the epidermis layer of our skin, whereas in the subepidermal means sub means below the epidermis layer of our skin. So subepidermis, it involves two types, that one we already discussed, that is dermatitis herpetiformis, while the other one is the pemphigoid group. Please remember, here I wrote pemphigoid. Now in the intraepidermal means in between the epidermis layer, we have to study this, that is the pemphigus group of disease. So pemphigus group of disease, it involves the intraepidermal layer. Now let's discuss about the pemphigus group. So in the pemphigus group of disease, we already discussed that it is a disease of immunobullous. So it is a disease of immunobullous. I already told you, immune means autoimmune complex will be there and fluid filled lesion will be there. At what level it will cause? It will cause at the level of intraepidermal, means in between, inside the epidermis layer. That's why it is intraepidermal layer. Please remember it is intraepidermal layer. Now after layer, in the intraepidermis, autoimmune complex will form. So now this complex means the antibodies will attack on which antigen? So in the epidermis, what is the antigen? So for in the epidermis, we already know that in the stratum spinosum, we have the keratinocytes. And all the keratinocytes, like in this type of keratinocytes will be there in the stratum spinosum, and all these keratinocytes were attached together, means they adhere together with the help of a desmosome. So they adhere together with the help of desmosome. So suppose this one is a desmosome. So here desmosome. So here the antibodies were against this desmosome protein. So antibodies were formed against this desmosome protein. So now the target is desmosomes. Target is desmosomes protein. So this is the target. Now after this, what process will happen? After attacking on the desmosome, so there will these keratinocytes will become loose. They will not attach together. They will not adherent. Furthermore, they will not more adherent to each other. So that's why the process of acantholysis will occur. After this, the process acantholysis will happen. So acantholysis will happen means that there is loss of attachment between the keratinocytes. What do we mean by acantholysis? Acantholysis is the loss of attachment between keratinocytes. So furthermore, because antibodies were against the desmosome, if there is no desmosome, that there is no adherence of the keratinocytes, so the loss of attachment between the keratinocytes is known as the acantholysis. So this is the acantholysis. Now this process will happen in the pemphigus group. Please remember, it is pemphigus, not the pemphigoid. Now after this, how the keratinocytes will look like? So the keratinocytes will look like this, separated. So they will look like circular, and they have prominent nucleus, and they also have a perinuclear halo, means around the nucleus there is some whitish space is there. So that space is known as perinuclear halo. Okay. Okay, so this is the process. Now what is the classification of pemphigus group? So now for the classification of pemphigus group, we have how many types of classification will be there? So there are 5 types of pemphigus group. So first one is the pemphigus foliaceae. First one is the pemphigus foliaceus. Second one is the pemphigus vulgaris. Pemphigus vulgaris. Third one is the IgA, immunoglobulin A pemphigus. Fourth one is the drug-induced pemphigus. Drug-induced pemphigus. And the fifth one is the paraneoplastic pemphigus. So out of these classes, which class is the most common? So the pemphigus vulgaris is the most common, and in the pemphigus vulgaris we have the variant that is pemphigus vegetians, which is the rarest one. And in the pemphigus foliaceus also we have one variant. That variant is pemphigus erythematosus. So this one is a variant. While for the pemphigus vulgaris we have one variant, and that variant is pemphigus vegetans. And this variant is very rare. It is very rare, while the most common is pemphigus vulgaris. Please remember this question, it is very important. Now let's talk about the pemphigus group and their defect. So in the pemphigus group, so in pemphigus group we already know the defect. That the target protein is desmosome. Target protein is desmosomes. And target antigen. What is the antigen? So in target antigen we have a desmoglein. Please remember desmoglein. And this desmoglein is for the pemphigus foliaceus, and also for the pemphigus vulgaris. So in pemphigus foliaceus and vulgaris we have the same target antigen, and that target antigen is desmoglein. Now the next one, that is the desmocholine. That one is desmocholine. So desmocholine is for immunoglobulin A pemphigus. This target antigen is in immunoglobulin A pemphigus. While for the desmoplakin we have paraneoplastic pemphigus. This antigen is found in paraneoplastic pemphigus. So all these are the target antigen. So these are the target antigen. The first one is the desmoglein, then desmocholine, and then desmoplakin will be there. Now the more important classes were pemphigus vulgaris and pemphigus foliaceus. Now let's discuss them. So in the pemphigus foliaceus, first we have to talk about the common character about both foliaceus and pemphigus vulgaris, and vulgaris is the most common one. So for the common features, we have like both are the disease of immunobullous. Both are immunobullous disease, which we already know that both are immunobullous disease. Both occur at the level of intraepidermal, means they are both occur inside the epidermis layer. So intraepidermal layer, and the target protein is desmosomes. Now in both foliaceus and vulgaris, the target antigen is also same, that is the desmoglein, but the type is different. So that is not in the common feature, because in the pemphigus foliaceus, so target antigen. So in target antigen we have desmoglein, that is DSG. So these are of like DSG1 and DSG3. So please remember here that desmoglein 1, we can also say first, and first letter is F. So here desmoglein 1 is the target antigen in the pemphigus foliaceus. We can remember it like this, that it is comes F for first and F for foliaceus. Desmoglein 1 pemphigus foliaceus, while the desmoglein 3 comes in the pemphigus vulgaris. And the desmoglein 1 is present in the upper epidermis layer. Please remember that it is present in upper epidermis layer, while the desmoglein 3 is present lower epidermic layer. It is present in lower epidermic layer, and desmoglein 1, its concentration in mucosa is very, very high. So it is its concentration in mucosa is very, very low as compared to the vulgaris. In vulgaris, the concentration is very, very high. So desmoglein 1, its concentration is low in the mucosa, while in the desmoglein 3 concentration in mucosa is high, that it is high concentration in the oral cavity. So when there is split, because if desmoglein 1 is present in the upper epidermis layer, it means during the split is seen in the upper layer of the epidermis. So the upper layer is corneum layer, so it means that it is seen, but it is intraepidermal, means it have to be present inside in between the epidermis. So it is seen in the split is seen below the corneal layer, because they are present in the spinosum layer, so that's why there is split below the corneum layer. So subcorneal split will be there. So there is subcorneal split, while for the vulgaris the split is suprabasal split. The split is suprabasal split, means above the basal layer there is split. So supra means above the basal layer, while the corneum and sub means below the, sub means below. So sub means below and supra means above. So it is present above the basal layer and it is present below the corneal layer. So this is the split. Now we see here that this is the stratum corneum layer, and below the corneum layer there is a split is seen here. So this is a subcorneal split, subcorneal split. While this is below the basal, this one is the basal layer, so it is above the basal layer, so it is a suprabasal split, and suprabasal split is seen in vulgaris, while the subcorneal split is seen in the foliaceus. Now the oral lesion. So because mucosa concentration is high in the vulgaris layer, so that's why the pemphigus vulgaris have oral lesions, that is approximate 90 to 95% oral lesions were present. Oral lesions present, while in the pemphigus foliaceus there is no oral lesions because the mucosa concentration is very, very low. Now the pemphigus vulgaris. So now we have to discuss separately about the pemphigus vulgaris, that is a vulgar disease like. So some points I already told you, that it is a immunobullous disease and it occur at the level of intraepidermal, and target protein here is desmosomes and antigen is desmoglein 3. Now, and here the process acantholysis is occur. Now in this we have to talk about the clinical features, like what were the clinical features in vulgaris. So basically the age presentation of the person is 40 to 60 year age presentation, 40 to 60 years, and symptoms, the person have burning sensation. So in the bullous, like in the bulle, the person have burning sensation. Burning sensation will be there. And in the skin features, we can also see the flaccid bulle. Flaccid bulle means when we touch them, they rupture without touching them, or with touching them, they rupture spontaneously. So that's why the skin features, they have flaccid bulle. And in the clinical sign, we can see clinical sign. We can see the Nikolsky sign. Nikolsky sign. As we apply the tangential pressure over the skin, the epidermis layer separates from the dermis layer. That one is the Nikolsky sign, which I already discussed in previous videos. So in the Nikolsky sign will be there, and one more sign, that is the Asbow-Hansen sign. That is the Asbow-Hansen sign. It is a Asbow-Hansen sign. As we can see in the Asbow-Hansen sign, that there is one bulla is there, but when I pressed it, it spread to the other side. It spread to the other side, and there now its direction is this one. So this is the Asbow-Hansen sign. Like when we pressed over the bulla, there is bulla can move from one place to another. That is like Asbow-Hansen sign, and it shows the irregular angulated margin. It shows irregular angulated margin. And in this pemphigus vulgaris we have the true Nikolsky sign. Please remember this one also. True Nikolsky sign is seen in the acantholysis, that is pemphigus vulgaris. Now the oral lesions also present in this pemphigus vulgaris because mucosa concentration is more there. And in the lab profile, what we can see in the lab profile, so in the lab profile we can see Zenk smear. So in the Zenk smear we see here all these are the acantholytic cells. So these were the acantholytic cells. Also we can say Zenk cells were seen. While in the histopathological image, we can see that there is a row of tombstone appearance, and there is a suprabasal split is there. This is the basal layer, and above the basal layer, so it is a suprabasal layer split will be there. Suprabasal split is seen in the pemphigus vulgaris. Okay, please remember this one. Now in the immunofluorescence, that is the direct immunofluorescence. So direct immunofluorescence, what we can see. So in the direct immunofluorescence, we see the fish net appearance. Please remember that fish net appearance is seen in the direct immunofluorescence. And here there is a fish net appearance is seen. So here there is deposited of immunoglobulin G. C3 is deposited. Please remember immunoglobulin G is deposited. While in the dermatitis herpetiformis there is immunoglobulin A deposition is there. Now how we can treat the pemphigus vulgaris? So what is the treatment of this? So for the treatment we have to give, because it is an autoimmune disease, so we have to give steroids, and steroids are given in high dose. So high dose systemic steroids were given. And also the cyclophosphamide. Cyclophosphamide also given, but there is one side effect of the cyclophosphamide, that is the hemorrhagic cystitis. Please remember cyclophosphamides have a side effect, that is hemorrhagic cystitis. And we can treat it with the mesna. If hemorrhagic cystitis will occur, then we have to give the mesna. And also we can also give the metabolite, and it contains the metabolite, that is acrolein. Please remember acrolein. So these were the previous year question which I am writing with the highlighting it with the red pen. Now in the moderate or severe pemphigus vulgaris, but we can give treatment. So in moderate or severe pemphigus vulgaris, what we can give? We can give the rituximab. So this is the treatment of the pemphigus vulgaris. Now one line more important questions about the other groups of the pemphigus. So the next group, that is pemphigus vegetans. So pemphigus vegetans, it is the rarest, and in this the pemphigus vulgaris is the most common, while the pemphigus vegetans is the rarest form. Next one is the drug induced pemphigus. So the drug induced pemphigus is the D-penicillamine, captopril or rifampicin. All these can cause the pemphigus. So these were the drugs including the drug induced pemphigus. Now the next one, that is the paraneoplastic, means the neoplastic condition. So paraneoplastic pemphigus. So in the paraneoplastic pemphigus, the most common is the non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So the most common is non-Hodgkin lymphoma. More other also involved the neoplastic condition like the CLL, the Castleman disease, or we can say the thymoma. All these were involved in the paraneoplastic pemphigus. But please remember that the most common is non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Now the next one, that is the pemphigus foliaceus. We already know that in pemphigus foliaceus, the target antigen is desmoglein 1, that is subcorneal acantholysis, and the skin lesions were fragile flaccid bulla, and the distribution is on. So please write here that the skin lesions is present on, skin lesions were fragile flaccid bullae will be there, and the distribution, so for it the distribution is on scalp, on the face, on the upper chest, and there is no involvement of mucosa, so that's all about the pemphigus group. I hope this video is very useful for you. Thank you. Bye bye guys.